Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the star line by Grant Smith, author of Everything You Need to Ace Computer Science and Coding in One Big Fat Notebook. Grant, welcome.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Let's go beyond the mic. You went to BYU, Hawaii, then Johns Hopkins School of Education for your doctorate. You served with AmeriCorps. Why is helping others so important to you?
That's funny because when I studied, when I did undergrad, I didn't want to become a teacher. I wanted to make money.
Really?
And then when I got into the Silicon Valley and started working there, I realized that, I did want to be a teacher, and maybe making money wasn't as important. And it's just so gratifying to help other kids learn important concepts. And I truly believe that computer science is something that all kids should be learning. And the first school I taught at was a school where every kid, is 100% of the kids got free or reduced lunch. Even breakfast and dinner was provided. So it was a great opportunity to teach kids this really unique and cool skill that they could use in the future and that will really benefit them in their lives. And I've tried to continue to scale up my work in everything that I've done.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics employment projections, 67% of future new jobs in STEM are in computing. Why was this so important for the next generation of middle schoolers?
Yeah, everybody always talks about STEM jobs and how important they are. And then, very rarely do they actually realize that most of those STEM jobs are not in science or engineering like a lot of people assume. They're actually in technology and computing. And I think that's just the way that we are going. We're seeing that we are increasingly living in a digital world. Technology is increasingly being part of every aspect of our daily lives and work and personal lives. Especially now more than ever that we're all quarantined, we have had to depend on technology to stay productive. And it's becoming more and more apparent. And so I think these tech solutions will continue to be implemented to make our lives, better, hopefully, but then, also just more integrated into our lives. So as we continue to see that increase, we will continue to see more and more jobs that are also benefited by technology or use technology. So I think it's a good idea for everybody to understand that digital world around them, how it works. Not everyone needs to become a professional programmer or software developer, but we should all have that basic understanding. Like, in the similar vein of why we teach every kid science when they're not all going to be scientists, but they should understand the physical world around them. It's the same argument, but for the digital world.
Well, you teach children in your book to code in Python. Why Python?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are actually three different environments that we use to teach in the book. And really what we were trying to do is this book is written for middle school students, and it's aligned to the computer science standards, the national standards, which many states have adopted. And we wanted to choose the most popular languages and environments that middle school kids were probably using. That's because there's not a standard, everybody has to learn this language, type standardized language, but Python has traditionally been one of the more popular ones to teach kids because of its simplicity. Just so happens to also be the most popular language for the past 3 years for programmers and professional environments, but mostly because it's a little more simple in the syntax and how it's written. But the other languages that we also cover in the book, one is called Scratch. It's actually an educational platform that was developed specifically to teach kids, or at least anyone who's just starting to learn programming, how to program, because it actually uses little blocks on the screen. Instead of typing out code, you have little blocks, and each block represents what would be a line of code. And when you snap a bunch of blocks together in a specific sequence, then you can actually program characters to do things, and you can program different things to happen on the screen. And so that's an educational environment that we know is very popular in middle school as well. Python being the other popular one. And then the other one that's popular to be a first environment to learn coding is HTML and CSS, which some people would argue that, that's not real programming, but it's the basic building blocks of websites. It's how you can build a very basic website, and that's another language that's popular to introduce middle school kids with.
As the worldwide pandemic continues, how will the importance of programming in science courses grow?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, computer science education is growing, and we're seeing it become more popular in schools or out of schools. I think the pandemic presents a specific challenge because, beyond just trying to teach virtually and whatnot, I think that can actually be overcome. I think the other challenge that's being presented is budget challenges and whatnot. And I fear that a lot of schools are cutting their computer science programs because they're not tested areas. They're not, reading, writing, math. And so I think that will present a problem with computer science programs. However, I do think kids can use this book to study up on their own and learn about computer science and coding on their own through this really engaging and fun approach to these topics. So whether or not they have a class specific for computer science, regardless of that fact, they can still use this book to learn on their own.
The book uses the ingenious technique of borrowing notes from the smartest kid in class. Why was that concept the key to teaching computer science to kids?
We really wanted to meet the kids at their level and keep them engaged. I'm sure we've all had the experience of reading a textbook that was dry and boring and just written by a professor that doesn't care if anybody actually reads it or actually enjoys reading it, right? I'm sure they want people to read it, but don't care about enjoyment, right? And so this was really important for us to have the kids enjoy it because we knew that this wouldn't be necessarily required reading in schools, but it would be for kids who want to learn on their own. And so we need to engage them. I personally believe that kids learn more when they're having fun. And so it's really important to keep that engagement factor a high priority.
Time is running out, so it's time for the Rocky Nate. 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There is no pressure. First computing language you ever learned?
Perl.
First computer you ever owned?
Oh, I think it was a Dell. I don't remember the model.
Class you got the worst grade in high school?
Oh, I think I had a B-.
In which class?
English. It's actually funny because I studied information systems in college, so I'd never have to write another essay. And here I am writing this 500 plus page book. Kind of ironic.
Last thing you programmed?
A game for Code Ninjas. I currently work at Code Ninjas as their VP of education. We're constantly programming games for other kids to program.
Last time you balanced your checkbook?
Last time I used my checkbook?
Last time you balanced it?
I don't. I can't even remember last time I used a check. So I would have to go find the checkbook. I have no idea. Yeah, we just don't do checks anymore.
Have you ever stepped on a Lego with your bare foot?
Oh, yes, all the time. My kid loves Lego. It's so painful.
Who gave you your last hug?
My daughter.
Last sporting event you attended was?
Oh, probably in college. I don't really attend sporting events. I have to have been in college, probably a basketball game.
He's an award-winning educator, author of Everything You Need to Ace Computer Science and Coding in One Big Fat Notebook. Grant Smith, thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you so much.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic.